How you doing, guys? It's Alessandro here from Spicy Moustache with some new tips in order to help you creating your own green area, indoor or outdoor. We had 3 days of non-stop snow after I say the weather is getting a bit better at the beginning of the previous video, so I won't ever say it again. However, there are still many things that needs to be done in the garden in order to get ready for the new season. We just finished to plant around 200 seedlings, and also all my chilies in the grow tent germinated successfully. It is still too cold to plant anything outdoor, but if you're based in UK, this is the perfect week to start sowing your seeds. Also, I'll build some new things to support my future plants, and I will show you some tips to transplant and remove plants from your garden. So dig up the like button, and today I'll show you what I do in order to get ready for the new season. I've got a small area in my garden with open soil, which we previously used to plant a palm, a rhododendron, and some mint that clearly overtook the whole growing space. The way I used to plant mint was to take some cuttings from a mother plant in the spring, and I transplanted them in this part of the garden. And this is the easiest way of propagating mint. The first consideration when growing mint is to find a space wherever it can spread. So for example, if you had to plant it in a raised bed, I would just sink a deep bucket without holes at the bottom, otherwise you would just suffocate all the other roots around the mint plant. This is great also because during the winter you can just remove the bucket and take it indoor to overwinter your mint plant. Its roots, properly called rhizomes, grow underground and they can shoot new plant pretty far away from the mother plant. This is why it's not ideal to plant with other plants, because it will quickly overtake the whole space. Also, if you try to pull it directly from the ground, it could be that some small pieces of rhizomes are still left over inside the soil and they could potentially shoot a new plant. So if you decide to choose this way of removing your plants, just make sure to check and double check the area wherever you remove the mint. However, for most of the other plants in your garden, my main advice is to cut them at the base and leave the roots in the ground. The reason is that worms and microorganisms are going to decompose the roots mass and transform into nutrients for the plants that you're going to plant next. Every time that you dig your garden to remove all the roots, basically what you do is to disturb bacteria and microorganisms that are going to enrich your living soil. When we till or dig our garden, that natural system gets interrupted. Also, worms get killed and the exposed soil gets eroded by air, wind or frost. Tilling simply isn't playing the long game. It provides immediate fertility, but it destroys the soil life, which is the source of long-term fertility. Tilling a natural soil is like killing it. This is not to be confused to prepare a new garden. In that case, tilling is actually a form of deep cultivation, which could be helpful to enrich the area with organic matter. This is why I will do it in the area that I showed you before, because I will need to remove the rhizomes from the mint and also to transplant a few plants. So I transplanted my rhododendron and cycad into 2 separate pots, and I removed it from the area so I can plant more things. To transplant this rhododendron, it's recommended to do it during colder climate, because in this way you will give time to the roots to establish before the new season starts. Take your time whenever you dig up your plant, so you will feel or see wherever the root mass ends, and you won't damage the root mass too much. It is best to transplant it straight away whenever you dig it up, because roots might suffer from the shock of transplanting. To prepare my pot, I start with a base of bark and I top it up with some wood chips that I got from close by allotment. I then add a handful of soil with all the root mass mixed with perlite, and also I sprinkle mycorrhizae on the root mass, so it will start to have a kind of a symbiotic relationship with the fungal activity. Also, I leave a couple of inches from the top, so I don't top it up completely with soil, because I will top it up with mulch that will help to retain the water and protect the soil. I recommend to use this mix of soil for pretty much every plant that you're gonna transplant in your garden, because you're gonna have the perfect mixture of moisture and aeration, and also there's gonna be enough organic matter for your microorganism and bacteria to thrive. So once I removed all the plants from this area, I will start creating my border, and luckily I still have some bricks left over from my fire pit that I collected from the neighbor. So I'm gonna use that to create my border. So other than just making it look nicer, I'm gonna have the chance to add an extra layer of soil due to the raised border all around it. I'll simply place the bricks in a shape that I like, and then I'm gonna secure them into the soil. And if I don't have enough, I'm gonna use some leftover wood from an old planter. However, I'll probably continue tomorrow because we are close to the end of the day. The light is almost gone and it started to get cold. So tomorrow is probably gonna rain, but I don't really mind. I'm gonna come back to the garden and finish to create my border. We're back into the garden. It rained the whole night. What we're gonna do is to sift through this whole pile of soil and remove every rock or big bit in order to have a nice texture ready for the plant. And now that this raised bed is done, I'll start focusing on what to plant. So I'll probably gonna plant tomatoes and companion plants that thrive really good in the same space. I will interplant basil as it's sort of a soulmate plant for tomatoes. This vibrant aromatic herb helps to repel flies and hornworms, and it's also believed to improve the yield and flavor of tomato plants. French marigold will be also planted around the border of this raised bed as it repels green flies and black flies. Also, their roots create a sort of symbiotic relationship with the roots of tomato plants, and they repel harmful root knot nematodes. And finally, nasturtium will be planted around the border along with marigolds. Their peppery bitter oil are absolutely great to kind of distract all the other insects from your main plant. I personally think it's one of the best pest repellent plants to use in the garden. However, try to confine their roots in a pot sinked into the soil, or they will quickly overtake the whole space. I might as well interplant a few plants of borage, which is an edible plant and attracts pollinator and repels hornworms. Carrots, it's also a good option as they grow underground and they won't compete with the tomato grow. Also, tomato plant offer a sort of shaded area for carrots, which is absolutely perfect. The main point when growing in a small space and using companion planting is to be able to pack as many plants as possible in a restricted area. This will help you to maximize the harvest of fruit, vegetables and herbs. So the last thing that I'm gonna add to this section of the garden is a bird feeder. There are many reasons why you should have something like this in your garden. First of all, it needs to be placed in an area of your garden with loads of vegetation, so it offers kind of protection for the birds that are coming here to feed. Providing food for the birds will help them to source it way quicker, especially during the nesting period, so they will have to spend less time away from the nest to forage food. Also, other than just a great decoration for your garden, it's gonna attract a variety of birds that they're gonna feed on weed seeds, and so it will help gardeners to control the spread of weeds. As I showed you, you don't need a huge space to create a vegetable garden. You can just understand how to best use what you have. In the next videos, I'm gonna show you more DIY projects in order to create some supports from the plants that I'm gonna plant in my garden, and also to maximize what I have available. I hope you liked today's video, and if so, please subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification settings so you can be notified every time I post a new video. And I'll see you next week for a new episode. Thank you very much for watching. See ya!